Around August of last year, I watched the entirety of Billiam's 3-hour Digimon Retrospective video, and it made me want to watch Digimon myself, so I did, in 4 days. Unlike Kim Possible though, I do have quite a few friends that I could talk to about this. But I need content. So here I am, to tell you all why I love Digimon. Also, before we start, I want to preface this video by saying that I am an American man, born and raised in the South. So my pronunciation of some of these Japanese names are gonna be a bit butchered. I mean no disrespect by it, I promise you I'm trying my best. Sitting in the living room, watching cartoons, flipping through the Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, and Nicktoons, hanging with my friends, animated on the screen, chilling out on the couch in front of my TV. Yeah, anything is possible when you're calling impossible, just like the American dragon, nothing is impossible. Vinny is a verb, taking rocket ships to space, Zack and Cody pulling pranks, making Mosby red in the face. Like when Eddie scams a cul-de-sac, trying to get some cash, Hector V is gonna stop him and leave him flat on his ass, while the Powerpuff Girls are stopping him in his tracks. I'm headed back to the past like I'm Samurai Jack. Got a blast off to Retroville, chill with the boy Genius. Call me the Avatar, cause I'm rising up like a phoenix, defeating the Galaxy Ghouls, facing off against Danny Phantom, chilling in Bikini Bottom with Sponge and Pat acting random.
Sometimes life can give us more than we can take. You might just get a dreadful feeling forming. When things are stressful, don't give up, just take a break. Sit down and watch cartoons just like we did back on Saturday mornings.
What is Digimon?
Digimon was created in 1997 by Akihiro Yoki, Aki Maiti, and Takeichi Hongo as a spin-off of the popular Tamagotchi under the name Digital Monster. A few years later, on March 7th, 1999, the toys were adapted into an anime titled Digimon Adventure, or Digimon Digital Monsters in English-speaking territories. The original anime ran for 54 episodes with 4 arcs and was continued with a sequel series, Digimon Adventure 02. But for this video, I'll be focusing on the original. So, without further ado,
The Good.
Digimon has a large cast of characters, 14 protagonists for the majority of the series, so a large part of this section is going to be talking about the characters. But before I start, I want it to be known, I speak English, and I have difficulty reading. So I watched, and will be talking about, the English dub. I'll also be talking about the characters in pairs, since the kids and their Digimon partners are interlaced to work well together. The first character, the leader of the Digidestined, is Taichi, Tai, Kamiya, and his partner Agumon. Tai as a character is the one in the show that gets the most focus. Obviously all of the Digidestined are main characters, but Tai is the mainest main character. During one of the arcs, Tai and Agumon are transported back to Tai's home from the digital world, and there's an entire episode or two spent there, focused on them trying to figure out how to get back. It's also spent foreshadowing the show's biggest twist, but I'll talk about that later. Tai's a kid with good intent, but he also tends to rush to danger to save those close to him, no matter the consequence. Agumon, on the other hand, is a bit more cautious while still being compassionate for his friends. The both of them are generally heroic and balance each other out nicely. Up next is the cool guy, Yamato Matt Ishida. Matt is generally a quiet loner type of guy. He starts off a bit rough, but as time goes on, he opens up more and shows that he's just as willing as Tai to throw himself into danger to save somebody, especially his younger brother, TK. His partner, Gabumon, my favorite by the way, is more shy but loyal to his friends, and the first character Matt really seems to bond with at all. Gabumon is also defensive of how he looks without his pelt, but in one episode, Matt is at risk of freezing to death, causing Gabumon to cover him with the pelt to keep him safe until morning, showing how much he really cares about his partner. After Matt, I don't really know how to order the characters, so I'm just gonna talk about them in what feels like the most to least important. So the next character is Sora Takenouchi and her partner, Billiam. Sora is kind of like the mom of the group. Like, if you've ever cosplayed with friends, she's that one friend that brings water and snacks for everybody. She's the most caring member of the group, a personality trait that shows itself most at the point where she refuses to let Billiam help in a big battle when she mirrors words said by her mother that she, up to that point, didn't quite understand. Billiam is fairly similar to Sora, being kind and loving and always willing to help when she needs to. By this point, I think you guys have noticed that I talk less about the Digimon than the actual character. Like I said, this is because the Digimon aren't actual proper characters. They're just character contrast or complement for the human characters. I'm sorry. The next character, I need to find something else to start these sentences with. The next character is Koshiro Izzy Azumi, one of the two token characters, his secondary trait being that he's socially awkward. Izzy is a computer expert who's fascinated with the digital world and sees it all as an advanced computer simulation. His partner, Tentamon, is the one exception to my no bugs rule. He's an intelligent, mechanical-looking ladybug who admires Izzy for his intelligence and curiosity. He contrasts Izzy's social awkwardness with his own quick wit, often making jokes or quips. Next is Mimi Tachikawa, the girly girl of the group. She's generally seen as the pretty one, coming off as spoiled and self-centered at first, constantly whining and complaining, but as the series goes on, she begins to show her more compassionate and caring side. Her partner Palmon mirrors her more caring side. She's also generally sensitive about her appearance, much like Mimi is, which is sad because out of the base Digimon, she's probably got the least appealing design. But she turns into a punching cactus, and I like that. After Mimi is Joe Kido. Joe is my favorite member of the Digidestined. He's the other token smart character, with his secondary trait being coward. He generally tries to avoid danger at all costs, as he feels responsible for everybody, being the oldest. Contrasting him is his partner Gomamon, who's a bit more reckless and generally wants Joe to lighten up a bit. I know it may not seem like Joe's my favorite because I wrote like the least about him, but he's also the only one where I got all of his information in one take. This is going to be another one of those, this may be a bit too negative for the good moments. But I don't care. I can't stand TK. He's the youngest of the group, and it shows. One thing you'll learn about me throughout some of these videos is that I can't really stand young kids. It's annoying to see characters written to be extremely naive. That being said, he does have some good traits. Like most of the other characters, TK is caring and wants to make sure his friends are safe and happy. His partner, Patamon, can also be somewhat naive and childish, mirroring TK nearly perfectly in most cases. At the end of the day, TK was essentially just meant to be a bait and switch, being useless for nearly the entire first arc just to be the one who saves the day. The last secret plot twist member of the Digidestined is Tai's little sister, Hikari Kari Kamiya. Kari isn't revealed to be a member of the Digidestined until the third arc, also known as the best arc. So she doesn't have much to go off of. She's sweet and innocent, much like TK, but she's not useless for nearly the entire series, so I like her more. Her partner Gatomon starts off as a villain because she never met Kari, since the day everyone else went to summer camp, she was sick. But upon meeting Kari, she forms an instant bond and sides with the rest of the protagonists to save the world from Myotismon. Unlike the others, Gatomon isn't a rookie-level Digimon, so she's generally more mature than the rest of the team. She's also the only one with any character because she was introduced as a villain and had some kind of personality and backstory other than what the other Digidestined's partners have. Digimon as a show has a general feeling of nostalgia, not because I grew up watching it, but because it focuses on the themes of childhood and growing up. The characters are portrayed as actual kids, not kids written through an adult lens. They're generally pure and don't have all of the answers. They make mistakes and they learn as they go along. The best arc in the show is definitely the Myotismon arc. The Digidestined being in the real world with their Digimon was super cool to me, especially because it was a super different aesthetic from the rest of the show having taken place in the digital world, which is mostly untouched land. I like this aesthetic for a few reasons, the biggest one being related to Cartoon Network. There's a video I have saved that's just a compilation to see in city bumpers that I watch when I'm having a bad day because it makes me feel better, and this arc has a similar feeling. It grounds the reality that these creatures, while made of ones and zeros, are still real, living, breathing creatures. I also prefer the look of the city more than the natural landscape because it felt different to me. It was fun to watch the Digimon interacting with the real world, eating human food and whatnot. The characters have very solid relationships. At the beginning of the series, none of them know each other very well, save for Matt and TK, and throughout the series, we see them grow closer and become friends with each other, which is amazing because in a lot of shows like this, the characters become friends immediately, and while they're all nice and friendly with each other from episode 1, they don't feel like actual friends until around the end of the first arc, when they've been through so much together and had reasons to legitimately bond. One of the coolest reveals in the show is that the 8 kids who became the Digidestined were ultimately chosen because they all witnessed a fight between Greymon and Parrotmon on the same night near Heightened View Terrace, where they all lived at the time. It's a pretty big coincidence, and it's definitely better than the Digidestined just randomly being chosen. It's also cool because it's the exact fight that happened in the Digimon Adventure short film that came out before this series, so it's calling back to the origins of the Digimon anime. Finally, the number one absolute best part of my binge. When I watched Digimon Adventure, I did so on Kiss Anime, which despite the pop-ups and sometimes poor performance was 100% worth it, because while I was watching the English dub, the episodes were edited to have the Japanese intro, Butterfly. Bro, when I tell you that Butterfly is literally my favorite anime theme song of all time, like, straight up, I listen to this shit and cry when I've got nothing better to do. And then there's a version done with the cast of Digimon Adventure Try. Fucking S tier. Can't be topped. I really like this song.
The bad.
Unfortunately, despite the world's best intro, I was still watching the English dub and oh boy, is it problematic. I don't know if it's because of where I watched it or if it's something that's always been there, but there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of editing errors. There were so many scenes where they used dialogue from later in the episode, and more often than not, it'd be literally 2 shots before the dialogue is supposed to be used. Then the dialogue would repeat where it's supposed to go. So this part was mentioned by Billiam in his Digimon video, so I'm not going to talk too much about that because I want you guys to watch that because he's a very talented content creator and my favorite YouTuber, and I feel like he deserves more views and subscribers than he has. For the English dub, the show was written to be more comedic than it was originally, which leads to jokes in places where there probably shouldn't be, awkward moments, and the most atrocious to me is that the writers would draw attention to and make fun of the often stilted animation. I talked a bit earlier about how annoying TK can be, and of course I didn't go too in depth because I wanted to stay as positive as possible, but that doesn't matter in this section. He annoys the hell out of me. I already knew going in that he and Angemon would be the heroes for the first arc because, you know, I already knew that Patamon digivolves into Angemon, but what bothered me about it is that it felt super forced, because he spends the entire arc not digivolving, then suddenly TK and Patamon have the strength and bond to do so at the last minute when everyone else is losing. Then in the next arc, he's useless again, because Patamon was destroyed and turns back into an egg. In the Myotis arc, TK is annoying as hell because he doesn't believe Patamon when he says that Devimon is super fucking suspicious despite the fact that his name is fucking Devimon with Demi in front of it, as if fucking Devimon isn't the motherfucker who tried to kill them 2 arcs ago. I get it, he's a kid. They can be dumb and naive, but if your closest fucking friend is suspicious of someone, why wouldn't you believe them? The 2nd and 4th arcs are the weakest in the season. Edamon is cool, but I could easily do without, and during Piedmon's arc, everything feels kinda forced, especially since it only lasts about 6 episodes, so they rush through all of the big fights. And don't get me started on this motherfucker Pokemon and his shit fucking take. Fucking gonna get his ass flamed on fucking Twitter. Fucking.
Why do all of you get the pizza while I get the crust?
Shut the fuck up! The crust is the best part, you fucking menagerie of garbage! I have felt like this since November of 2020. I'm actually fucking legitimately mad. Who the fuck doesn't like pizza crust? It's just breadsticks with pizza attached to it. What's not to love? Another unfortunate part of the show is that the Digimon themselves don't have much personality. At least the main ones. They were made to go hand in hand with their human partners, so they don't hold up well on their own. There are also like some generally uncomfortable moments where a few different Digimon flirt with Mimi, and it's like, she's 9? I get that it's played up for laughs, especially because one of them is a sewer slug and the other one is a literal walking pile of shit, but it's still super creepy nonetheless. It's often stated that Digimon is a Pokemon knockoff, and I can see why, but honestly, I'd argue it's nowhere close to Pokemon. Digimon was and still is a franchise filled with love and care, and even with its similarities, there's one major difference. 1,148 episodes of Pokemon couldn't get nearly as much of a reaction out of me as 54 episodes of Digimon did. When the final episode hit and the kids had to say goodbye to their Digimon, it hit me really hard, especially when Mimi, the most self-centered of the Digidestined, doesn't want to say goodbye to Palmon. In the time they spent together, they became so close that Mimi didn't want to part ways. Palmon is the one thing in the world that was more important to her than how she looked, and it was heart-wrenching to see them have to part ways. When I started watching Digimon, I didn't expect to cry. I didn't expect to get as attached to the characters as I did, but Digimon is an amazing story about 7 kids growing up together through rough times and unfamiliar situations, and honestly, I think that despite its flaws, there's no series that could have done it better. That's all I have for this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe. If you're a fan of this series, feel free to join my Discord server where I try to be as active as possible and post teasers for future Why I Love videos. If you made it this far in the video, tell me who your favorite member of the Digidestined is in the comments. Thanks for watching, and remember to stay righteous.